Hey, what's up, Agents for Life? Welcome to podcast number 260, where we're going to talk about the last of the core values. This is by far one of my favorites out of all of them. I know you've heard me say that in the past, but this is real. This is, I promise, it's one of my favorites, and this is attitude. We're going to talk about attitude today. But before I get into it, let me just give you a couple of thoughts from the field. First, an announcement. Leadership Training Conference. It's the next level leadership training, December 6th. If you haven't gotten your ticket yet, please, please, please get them. They're talking about filling up and discontinuing ticket sales, closing it down. I don't want that to happen. I don't want anybody to not come because they didn't get their ticket in time. The tickets are $80, I think, and then you just got 2 weeks to figure out how to get yourself there. So make the commitment and get yourself there. These are life-changing events. This is where, I mean, Zoom is great, don't get me wrong. This is where you rub shoulders and that energy rubs off on you and you get to take it home with you. You don't get the energy through the computer waves nearly as much as you do in person. Ask any manager at Equis, anybody that's been around for a while. In-person events are life-altering events. Zooms are great and inspirational, keep you going, but those in-persons, nothing replaces them. People come back and businesses explode as a result of these events. So I really hope you'll make it a priority. It might be a sacrifice. You might have to pull from savings a little. You might have to figure out how to get there. There's some people driving, 10, 15 hours or whatever, just because they couldn't afford a plane ticket, but they'll hop in the car and just go cross country. So the more of you that I see, the better. I hope everybody can make it. Enough said about that. But if you need help with where the link is or anything, please, please, please raise your hand. We got 2 weeks and it's super important that we get everybody there that wants and can come. So that's December 6th. It's a Friday and it will absolutely change your life. A little bit of, or just not really a story from the field, but I was excited when I had a day yesterday. My parents came into town. Um, didn't really, I mean, we kind of knew, we found out last minute. And so they were hanging out with us, and it's been great. I love it because I get to work from home and hang out with them and see them. And I don't have to be gone all day like I used to. But my dad wanted to take me golfing, and I am not a golfer. Just need to know that. I count my score not by how many swings to get into the cup, but by how many balls I lost. Right? That's how I report my golf game is how many donations did I make to Mother Golf. The golf guards giveth and the gods taketh away. And in my case, they do more taking than giving. But anyways, we have fun. I love it. I love it. I love it. You'd laugh if you watched me golf, but it's beautiful. The course is green, right? Sunshine down here in Arizona. So we had a great fun. And I guess I'm still getting used to the fact that this can happen. Went golfing with my dad all morning, came back, I ran a few appointments, wrote two policies. Okay, I'll probably, I don't know, make $1,200, $1,500 total between the two in commissions. And then that night, I was blessed to take a church group on an outing, a bunch of young men and young women. So it was a service project. So my day consisted of golf, and a huge chunk of my all evening long from 5 o'clock on was taken up on this service project with my church. And I just had this small window of a few hours in the afternoon where I ran some appointments, wrote some policies, made a lot more money than I ever would at my job. And what a blessing to be able to just live here, be at home with my parents all week, and then be able to choose. My dad says, let's go golfing. I look at my calendar and we just pick a day. And then I still come home and put in some time get the computer and head out again. So anyways, that was, I guess, kind of a story from the field, but just something that I wanted to share that, looking back to see how far I've come, that was a dream 6 years ago when I was at a job. That right there that I just described, that kind of freedom, that was a dream. And it's amazing that day after day, that consistency, your whole life can turn around. And one day you look back and you're like, wow, and you can pinpoint the day where you made that decision and everything started to change. So, mic drop thought for the week: a need, once it's felt, becomes a want. Now, this has to do with our presentations. We want to make people feel Okay. We want them to feel that pain of not having what we sell, not having life insurance. They're going to experience it. We want them to get a small taste so that they can fix it and not have it happen in real life. Okay. So it's very important on our appointments that we find the pain, and we do that through the needs analysis. Well, a need, because everybody starts off, they fill the form out because they have a need, but it's our job to help turn that need into a want, because they're going to buy it if they really want it. We buy what we want, not always what we need. A need can be more logical. A want is emotional. So a need, once it's felt, becomes a want. So you take a need, you add some emotion to it, turns into a want. I thought that was a pretty cool thought, and something that we can definitely apply in our appointments to focus on finding that need, turning it into a want. Okay, weekly training. Here we go. We're talking about attitudes, right? I love attitude trainings because it's the one thing that's truly 100% in your control. Everything in this business, there's so much of it that's outside of our control. It's insane. Even the top producers have bad leads, have bad dial sessions, have bad, series of appointments. Yes, consistency and time can outpace that, and it does eventually. But day to day, there's only so much in our control. 100%. You're hoping people show up, and a lot of times they do, but it's out of your control whether they do or not, right? There's a lot of things that are out of our control that we just kind of depend on others or our environment for things to happen. So I love attitude because attitude comes from within, and that's the place that you own. This inner world right here, that's your domain. Okay. So you talk about all the circumstances going on around us. Maybe life's throwing you some curveballs. Maybe you're going through some tough times. You know what? You can't control any of it, maybe, or you can't change the past, at least. I know that. So you can't go back in time and get yourself into different circumstances. It is what it is, right? All you can truly affect is how you respond to what's going on. And that's called your attitude. It's really it. How do you see it, right? Nelson Mandela, I love this story. One of the most honored, revered, respected leaders of our day. Okay. The apartheid in Africa. And I don't even know much about history. I'm surprised I remembered that word, and I might have it wrong, but you know what I'm talking about, where he was imprisoned for years, decades. Someone asked him after he got out what about his experience in prison. And you know what? A lot of prisoners, they develop a lot of hate because all these guards are just mean and ruthless and bitter and hateful, right? And they break you down. I mean, that's their job, or that's their goal, is to break you down as a prisoner. And a lot of times they succeed. Nelson Mandela, he forgave, he loved, and that's hard. That's hard when you're a prisoner to love the guard that's holding you captive. And he said that it wasn't 20 or 30 years, however long it was, of just wasted time in a prison cell. He said, I was practicing being, showing grace and mercy and kindness. And he was living his best life. He couldn't change his circumstances, but he was living the best life that he could by choosing a positive attitude, right? Loving the guards, forgiving them. And that was a choice that he made. Now, you might listen to that and go, that's impossible, or that's insane. Well, you might be right that it's insane, but it's not impossible. It takes a kind heart and it takes a lot of effort. And you can do the same right now in your life with whatever circumstances the universe or life or your surrounding environment has served up for you. Whatever you find yourself in, you can choose to look around and say, you know what? I'm here because I'm learning something. I'm growing. I'm a work in progress. And doggone it, I am headed in places I'm headed. It's going to be awesome, right? You can see the big picture. Or you can say, gosh, life sucks. Why can't I catch a break? Same circumstances, both reactions don't change the circumstances. But boy, I'll tell you, one of those two is a heck of a lot easier to live with and impacts your life in a lot better way. So, attitudes, a few things I know about attitudes. Number one, they are contagious. Very true, right? Just like a cough or a cold, a virus is contagious. And I love that thought about attitude. I heard it said once, attitudes are contagious. Is yours worth catching? Is yours worth catching? I thought, well, that's kind of hits home. Like, I hope so. I hope so. I want to be a positive. I know I'm not always. It's hard to be always, but it's something we definitely have to work at. Number two, attitudes determine your success, right? We hear the phrase, the catchphrase, attitude determines altitude. Attitude determines altitude. So it's a huge determining factor in your success. So do a quick gut check. Check up from the neck up, as Eric likes to say, right? How's your attitude? When you pick up the phone to dial, what are you thinking? Are you negative? Are you sour? Are you excited? Are you excited for the privilege of owning and operating a business, even though it comes with challenges? Hey, you know what? The rest of the world, there's so many people, a huge percentage of people at jobs, dead end jobs that hate their job, that hate their life, that would love an opportunity to do something big, to have, unlimited income potential, right? We're blessed. And yeah, sometimes with those blessings come challenges that we have to be okay with. But can you think of a better approach when you're dialing than just, I gotta dial, And I'm saying this not to make anybody feel bad. I do have done it. Do I catch myself? I don't like get excited to go make a bunch of phone calls. But I will say once I get in motion, I always want to keep going once I get through those first few. So attitude though, coming into whatever. I got to show up on meetings. Yes, you need to show up in the meetings. I don't know anybody successful that's not showing up in the meetings. You got to be on the Zoom calls. You got to be dialing. You got to get leads. These are all the basics. We've taught them over and over. And how do you respond when you hear those things? What's your attitude towards them? Does it need a little carburetor adjustment? Do we need to tweak your attitude just a little bit? Um, Environment. Let me wrap up with this. Our attitudes are significantly impacted by our environment. What's going on around us? Do you have stuff on the walls reminding you about where you're going? Is your dream up somewhere where you're seeing it every day? Are you surrounded by people that talk about the future instead of the past? I heard it said on a podcast this last week that you can tell the quality of people you spend time with based on what they talk about. Are they talking about the past or are they talking about the future? We want to be hanging around with people that are talking about the future. So your environment, physical environment, your social environment, are you reading? It's your intellectual environment, all the stuff that we're putting ourselves around. That is what's going to make a huge impact at the end of the day on our attitude. And I hope that you'll take some time to do a quick gut check on how you've been. Are there some areas for improvement? Can you work a little bit more on having a better attitude, right? We can't change the circumstances in our lives, but we can change the attitude or the way in which we respond to them. So why not focus our effort on the one thing that we can change, not all the things we can't? Doesn't that make more sense? Anyways, thanks for listening to me carry on about attitude, one of our top core values. I hope you'll take this and go implement and go make it an awesome week by looking at things and responding things maybe a little differently than you have in the past. All right, I'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening.